Yo, welcome. Look, y'all, it's nighttime. Nah, it's about 7 o'clock, so I got a little bit of time to work on the lathe without feeling like I'm interrupting folks' evening. But impromptu project, turning this wooden dowel into a Harry Potter wand for Kiana, my daughter that loves Harry Potter. I never watched it, I don't know, but we'll see, y'all. This is totally shooting from the hip. Let's get it. Now, starting this project off, as ridiculous as this sounds, I was not able to perfectly center that wooden dowel on the lathe, so I had to go back and re-round it out, if that makes sense. But one of the tips that I use for making sure that it's perfectly round is just laying the tool on top of the workpiece as it's spinning, and if it's riding smooth, you're good. If there's some bumps, you got some flat spots or some high spots. So I take that spindle gouge and I just work my way all the way down the piece. I found the measurements online, so I made the handle about 1.5 inches-ish. Might have been 1 inch on the caliper, but that's the width I'm trying to get right there. And the handle piece is just gradually gets skinnier until around the 4-inch mark. And then that's where I taper it off more drastically as it gets closer towards the tip. As you can see here, from that 4-inch mark all the way towards the other tip, I'm taking off more material. That way just shaping comes a lot easier later on. There are a lot of other videos out there. I highly suggest, if you're starting any woodworking with a lathe, definitely do your research, join some groups, find somewhat of a mentor, because there's a lot of things like safety and whatnot to take into consideration. That measurement there, that really skinny piece, that's about 1/4 inch measured at the tip. So I used a parting tool to cut that to really eat into the material. Gave me my final measurement on the end. That way I can go back to where the handle starts to taper and work my way gradually towards that 1/4 inch. Just ripping material off of the workpiece. Once it's got its final shape, I took the wider spindle gouge and I just kind of get a little artsy and cut somewhat of a texture or a design into the handle part. And all I did was just let that gouge eat itself into the wood and then round it over. Yet another technique that you can learn on some of these other guys' videos. I wish I knew how to explain it, but I don't. I take some sandpaper. This one here, I want to say that was 220 grit, and just to give it a more fine texture to it, I go back later on and hit it with 400 grit to get it really fine. Rather than using a parting tool to cut off the excess, that wide end down there at the end of the tip, and then the longer or the wider end at the handle, I end up using painter's tape to cover the area before I cut it off with a jigsaw. That helps with preventing any tears or blowouts when you're cutting. Hey, back at it. I guess we'll call it day 2. It's really just the morning after yesterday when I left off, but check it out so far. Yeah, check that wood grain. Yeah. So far yesterday was just shaping, cutting, and most of the sanding. What I'm gonna do today is round off the tip. Yeah, so I'm gonna round that off. There you go. I'm gonna round that off, round off the butt end as well on the handle. Put a fine sand onto it. Stain, I might do a little something. I kind of got an idea with some twine. I don't know, we've been shooting from the hip this whole project, so just play it by ear, I guess, y'all. It's cold, man. Florida mornings, y'all. It's like 55, almost 60 degrees. It is cold. But enough of that. Let's get to it. So I take the palm sander out and I use that to round out that tip after I cut off the excess. And I also put somewhat of a rounded edge on the handle end. What I'm doing here is I pre-drilled a hole into the bottom of the handle or the base, and then I'm pushing a 1-inch screw through the wood into the wand. That way it stands up for when I'm staining it. The stain just goes on a lot easier that way. It's less for me to hold. Just freed up a hand and made it so much easier. But this was red mahogany, the Minwax stain. Just throw it on there, let it do its thing. It's good to go. Alright, y'all. It's been a crazy, eventful day. From going out and about after breakfast, after I stained this morning, and had a birthday party, picked up a buddy from the airport. It's been wild. And the entire day, I've been thinking of adding twine wrapped around this thing. Again, y'all, this whole design, I'm shooting from the hip. So the struggle I'm having right now is without super glue, because I ain't going to the store, it's cold. I want to secure this thing to wrap it while I apply this polyacrylic for the clear coat. So the only thing I can come to think of is I'm going to use painter's tape to hold the tip at the top, wrap it, painter's tape at the bottom, apply the acrylic everywhere else, and then once that kind of sets, holding it in place, then I'll undo the painter's tape and polyacrylic the rest. Don't know, we about to see. So maybe I won't have to put painter's tape here at the bottom. That little double overhand hitch might have worked. We'll see. I am still gonna trim that. Yeah, I'm gonna trim that, but anyway, pre-shaking, hopefully the bubbles settle. I know you're supposed to stir. I ain't got time for that, man. Told y'all, this is self-taught, making things work. And it still comes out good. I've done it a few times. When applying this polyacrylic on there, some say that the natural bristle brush is better than a sponge brush. Personally, I haven't experienced any differences, but I'm sure there are. People have their own opinions on those. It all went smooth on this project, though. Dunskies. Okay, I was kind of a little bit more generous in the areas where the twine is going to touch the wood, and along with that little knot that I created here at the bottom, just in hopes, experimenting again, just in hopes that it kind of bonds more in those areas and gives a more secure coat. I'm really doing this just to give it a little bit of an antique look, or some of that wizardry, a little magic, sorcery. I don't know, man. I don't even know. All right, y'all, all done, all dried up. The acrylic clear coat is good. I tell you, I am kind of impressed, for not having any type of idea about anything related to Harry Potter or that whole wizard world. Never read the books, never watched the movies, but the shape of the wand I'm kind of digging on the handle side. The twine came out really nice. You know, the part that I really like about it is some of the strands on the twine are actually sticking out, and they're not like laid into the clear coat all perfect looking. You know, it has that stray look or distressed look. But other than that, it's done. I'd say 99% done. I am going to take the screw hole that was, you know, had it sticking up from the board. I'm gonna fill it in, stain, and acrylic clear coat it. Very similar to what I did for the rest of it. So y'all don't need to see that. You know, it's the same process, just a smaller area. Yeah, I appreciate y'all taking a look at this. I've had a couple folks already reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook. They're like, yo, if that turns out good, I want one. I'm going to visit Universal pretty soon, so I'm gonna need it. Maybe they'll like this design, maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I appreciate y'all checking this thing out. You know, my rookie woodworking, completely shooting from the hip, adjusting as I go with this one. But if you like it, there's more woodworking videos right here. And don't forget to subscribe right here. Till next time, y'all. Thanks for coming out. Peace.